All of it really comes down to data crunching, interesting data crunching, and what better to sort of get a sense of what's happening in the grocery space, which remember we've been highlighting, everyone sort of is betting on grocery. So what's happening, what are consumers lapping up to, how does the retail online versus offline scenario really play out? Joining me is Anil from Redseer and Hari Menon, of course, from Bigbasket, to take us through this exclusive report that they've released and the trends really standing out. Thank you so much, both of you, for taking out the time and joining in. Anil, it's an exhaustive report. So for the benefit of our viewers, break it down. 2-3 strong trends that you really see stand out from a grocery perspective in the Indian market.
Sure. So I think one of the big things which comes out in the report is purely from the growth per se. Right? So if you see online grocery market today, it's at just about 0.3-0.4% of the overall grocery market today. So there's humongous amount of opportunity which online market has to penetrate into the offline side, more than 99%, right? So, and what we're seeing, while the overall grocery consumption is growing at about 10 to 11% in market, whereas if you see the online grocery market, it's growing 55% plus. So, which means there's a more than 5x of a growth which is happening on the online groceries today. So that's one of the big things which we see. Second thing which we see in terms of the overall market as it will evolve by 2023 is expected to be about $10.7 billion. Now that's a significant size of opportunity, because if you look at the online market today, and $10.7 billion would be the second largest category in the online scheme of things. So that's another big thing which we see which is coming out of the market. And in general, we see the way the buying frequency which is coming along for the online grocery is much higher for some when compared to some of the other product categories. Now, which is showing the sign of stickiness. And one of the big hypotheses which the online grocery players earlier had, that customers would really like the service and they would have a higher amount of stickiness. That's playing out really very well.
Got it. Those are the big trends. Hari, you're the industry view. You have all the data. So talk to us about the fact that the potential to grow grocery is a lot more mainstream now. We talk about online grocery a lot more this year than we've ever done in the last 4 years, and the gap that you can fill, 0.3%, may seem minuscule, but it's quite a sizable chunk really of the market.
So what I think is going to happen in the next year or two, actually you'll see a lot more players coming into the space, and I have talked about this, Rahul, many times with you, right? And we are just waiting for something like that to happen. And my belief is that when you have more and more players coming into the industry, you will see the pie itself growing much faster, right? And this has happened in many industries in the past. So this is what will single-handedly drive a lot of movement of people as far as the grocery is concerned, from the physical world to the online world, simply because there'll be more noise in the space. There'll be people coming in with different offerings, that people will have. People will start addressing different segments. You're already seeing a bit of that, happening right now. So to me, I think that is the single biggest cause for change that will happen, with more and more players coming in. Because if that doesn't happen, then the industry doesn't grow as fast, right? Because especially in markets which are very large, right? And this is a classic example of a large market. This may not be true of a market which is small, because there, if you have multiple players, then you kind of just cannibalize, right? Here, there's no question of cannibalizing. I think more people come, you'll find new customers and more people in just these 26-27 markets that we are currently operating in, coming in. So you'll have different SEC segments now starting to buy more. We're probably stuck today at SEC B plus, or maybe SEC B. You'll go down now to the SEC C, C plus level, and that is a huge opportunity. And you will see that pie growing simply because there'll be more noise, there'll be more players, and there'll be a lot more action that you'll see in that space.
And considering the market is so massive, it would help to have a lot of players sort of solve the problem really. Anil, you have all the data. Talk to us about what are consumers increasingly looking for. Grocery may seem like a simple term, but there's so many more categories underneath. What are they increasingly looking for? How does it really, pan out from online versus offline?
Sure. So Rahul, it's interesting if we look at the basket of the online and offline, the split of the products looks pretty similar. right? So in terms of what people are buying on an online store versus offline store, there's not a big difference on the larger category. But only when you start looking into the next level of data that you start seeing interesting trends coming in. So one of the things which we saw, that big brands which are selling products online, they are able to take a lot of risk and try out new products. So specialized categories are being sold a lot more often, right? So whereas when you go to the brick and mortar, the risk-taking appetite for the new product categories is limited, and even the established brands would be coming out with the plain vanilla product offerings on the offline store side. So that's one big trend which we've seen. Similar brands, similar categories, but specialized products coming in. That's what people are buying. The second bit which we've seen is the rise of the smaller brands, which would probably get lost on the large shelves and aisles of the...
It's the best democratization, right?
Yes, of course, and as we speak about it, right? So online platform is a lot more democratic. So if we see that there's a product which is meant for a particular customer set, it will reach to it. It's not that because it's not the biggest of the brand, it doesn't have the biggest of the supply chain and the marketing muscles, it will be cornered. So those are two big things which we have seen has come up as an interesting trends. The third trend which we've seen is in the smaller cities. Now that's coming out as a very interesting insight. In the smaller cities, while people have been expecting that grocery as a category might not pick up really very well with them, but we are seeing that the well-to-do and the middle-class customers are actually finding a lot of value in shopping grocery online because they're finding the assortment and product categories which are not available on the offline stores.
And once you sort of get online, it's so much more difficult to go back to a store and do it. So I think the consumer also latches on. Hari, what's the success mantra to win in the Indian market? What is it that you have been able to crack? Because it is an Indian jugaad at the end of the day, right? It's an India-specific problem. The Indian consumer is the toughest consumer to crack, really. So what really is the success mantra?
I think two things actually. One is basically just key metrics, right? This is a hard business. It's not easy at all. Delivering groceries at home, it's, your average basket size is about 23 items, right? As against 1 or 2 items that you will do, in typically. So it's absolutely critical to get your fill rate right. So which means you order 10 items, I must get all the 10 right? If I don't deliver one, then I have to go back to the store, and then I'd rather buy everything there. So it puts a lot of pressure on you to make sure that you get extremely good order fill rates. Second thing is to make sure you deliver on time, considering all the issues that India goes through in terms of traffic and problems and rains and roads and blah blah blah. You need to deliver groceries on time. There's also an element of freshness there, because more you get delayed, the stuff in your delivery vehicles start deteriorating, because these are all perishables that you're largely.
And you've been talking about delivering in 2 hours, and that's the big focus here for
Correct.
Bigbasket.
And third is